Um, so if we look down toward the end of page 67, you will see that there are two types of diseases. There are communicable. Um, Actually, there's two words for diseases. They're communicable and contagious. Those are the same things. So, for instance, a communicable disease is a disease that passes from one person to the other, um, which is the same thing as contagious. So, if you look down and you see the definition of contagious, it says when a disease spreads from one person to the other, it is said to be a contagious disease, which is also known as a communicable disease. That's a test question, and sometimes in the test they'll ask those questions in different ways just to kind of confuse you. So you may see that a blank is an example of a disease that is transferred to one person to the other, and it may be A, contagious, B, local, C, systemic, something like that. Then later on the test, you may see a communicable disease is a type of disease that is spread from one person to the other, true or false. So what they want you to know is that communicable and contagious are the same thing, okay? So now we're going to move over to page 70, and we're going to start talking about fungi. Okay, fungi is at the bottom of page 70. It's a single-celled organism that grows in irregular masses that includes mold, mildew, and yeast. Okay, you need to know that definition. That will definitely be a test question. Now, what I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to Google a couple of things, and I want you to see how this how it parallels with what we do in the shop. So I want you to Google Tenea barbae, and that is at the bottom of page 70. Tenea barbae. Tenea barbae is otherwise known as barber's itch, and as you pull it up, you'll be able to see the picture of it. You'll be able to get an idea of what it looks like. This is something that you need to be able to identify in the shop. It's a fungal infection, and you see it a lot on the face, around the neck. So that's Tenea barbae. The other one that we want you to look at is Tenea capitatis. Now, just so you know, itis is the Greek word for enlarged. So, Tenea capitatis, a fungal infection that is characterized by papule spots or openings on the hair follicles. So again, look that up, take a look at it. And it's important when you're looking at Tenea barbae, Tenea capitatis, that it's really important to know the characteristics of those different types of fungal infections, because those are test questions as well. And then I will have you look up pediculosis capitatis, which is midway through page of 71, which is otherwise known as head lice. If you're wondering, have we ever seen head lice in the school? Yes, we have. It was about 3 years ago now. There was a kid that came in and his hair hadn't been cut in like 6 or 7 months. This is why I tell you guys that when you're cutting your hair, that the first thing that you should do is you should comb through the head, because it allows you to understand the way the hair pattern in which the pattern in which the hair grows, but also allows you to do inspections for any type of diseases or any type of abnormalities of the scalp. So this barber just decided to go right in, and he was cutting the head, and he stopped and said, "Hey, there are some things moving in this head." I looked at it, I had Kanice look at it, and there were just hundreds of little lice just running through this kid's head. The barber was so spooked that he took his cape off. He threw everything away. It was insane, but it happens. So you need to recognize pediculosis capitatis, head lice. The other one that I'd have you look up is scabies. Scabies is a contagious disease, and it's caused by an itch bite. Pretty gnarly type stuff. But again, these are things that you will see in the shop. So you need to be able to identify them. You need to be able to see them. Okay. All right. So now we are going to go to page 72, and we're going to talk about how we prevent the spread of disease. And we're going to talk about the infection control pyramid. So if we were controlling infection in the shop, we would think of a pyramid, and it would look a little bit like this. So at the bottom of this pyramid, we would have cleaning. Okay, cleaning is the most basic form of infection control that we do in the barbershop. Cleaning is basically removing dirt and debris from your implements. Okay, the next step is disinfecting. So an example of disinfecting would be using Ship Shape. So we take our implements, our combs, our brushes, we clean them, we remove the dirt and debris from them. Then we disinfect them, we place them in the Ship Shape. The Ship Shape, again, going back to part one, you have to follow the manufacturer's instructions. You're looking at it, we just don't take the Ship Shape and just dump it in there. Use a specified amount. The manufacturer's instructions tell you to leave it in for at least 7 minutes. So that's your disinfecting. The next level from disinfecting is sanitizing. So sanitizing involves, that would be your clipper side, that would be your barber side. So I remove the dirt and debris from my brushes and my combs. Then I disinfect them. I put them in the Ship Shape. Then I put them in the barber side, or I'm spraying in front my guards. I'm spraying them with clipper side. Now, what's important about that, and we talked about this in part one, is that again you have to follow the manufacturer's instructions, because if you leave your combs in barber side for too long, then it eats away at the protective coating on those implements, and that's why you start to see when you're combing somebody's hair and it's been in barber side too long, then the teeth begin to fall out. So sanitizing. So we have cleaning, disinfecting, and sanitizing. And the highest form of infection control is sterilization. Sterilization. Okay, sterilization, it really cannot be achieved in the barbershop. You ask, well, why? Why can't sterilization be achieved in the barbershop? Because sterilization requires an instrument that's called an autoclave. So when you go into like hospitals and they do surgery, they take those tools and they put them in an autoclave, which is in like an infrared light. It's kind of like a microwave with the infrared light. Then those tools, they're sanitized and they put them in an airtight container and they prepare them for surgery. Well, you can't have an autoclave in the barbershop because those filters cost thousands of dollars and it's just not practical to replace those filters each time you use them. So the highest level of cleaning that you can achieve in the barbershop would be to sanitize your implements. Disinfection control pyramid, again, starts on page 73 and goes all the way through about page 78. But we're going to stop for a second on page 75, and we're going to talk about quaternary ammonium compounds, or quat solutions. So a quaternary ammonium compound, an example of that is barbicide. Okay, so we have otherwise known as a quat solution. Okay, so A quaternary ammonium compound or quat solution is when you take a chemical and you mix it with water to form the disinfectant. So on Barbicide, when you take an ounce and you mix it with 32 ounces of water, you are forming a quaternary ammonium compound or a quat solution. If you look on page 71, you'll see that quaternary ammonium compounds are disinfectants that are very effective when used properly. The most advanced type of these formulations called multiple quats. So 1 ounce for every 32 ounces is the manufacturer's instructions for Barbicide. So if I have a 64-ounce container, I take 2 capfuls, I fill the water to the top. That is my quat solution. If I have a smaller container, then I take 1 capful, fill it up with 32 ounces of water. That is your quat solution. Okay, so page 75, you'll need to know what a quat solution is. And then also you need to know the definition of the phenolic disinfectants. That's right below the quat solutions. Okay, now as we go back and we move through this, there you'll see some disinfectant safety, some do's and some don'ts. Okay, those do's and don'ts, they will appear on the test. So you need to know for disinfectant safety, where in the middle of page 76 where it says always, then those bullet points, those are important to know. Where it says never, those are important to know also, because I can promise you that on your state board test as well as the test here that you'll see some of those. Okay. Also, one other thing, on page 78, when you look at figure 418, you'll see a leather strop. Strops are illegal in the state of Missouri. Strops are illegal in the state of Missouri because, anybody know? Nope, nobody knows. Because they can't be disinfected because the leather is porous. Okay, so if you ever see a test question about a strop, well, you won't see a test question about a strop in regard to the state of Missouri, but just know for practicality standpoint, when you go into the shop, that if an inspector comes in, that you'll get dinged because strops can't properly be disinfected because it's porous. For the most part, that really ends the chapter. This chapter, again, I will state, it is a super, super important chapter. This chapter is part of your scientific concepts. This chapter, along with some other chapters, accounts for 35% of your test. That's why we've given you this chapter in crumbs. That's why the chapter has been broken up into 2 different lectures. It is very important that you understand this chapter, not only for state board purposes, but for practicality purposes. Because as I stated in the first lecture, the #1 priority of a barber is to protect the public from infection. So as you go through this chapter, review the information, take your time, study the information, make sure that your study guide is complete. You will test over this week. But more importantly, I promise you there will be a number of test questions that are on the test here that you guys will take on the state test. So take this chapter seriously, go back and review the material, and good luck.